Yeah, I just quit my tech job. I'm now opening up an opportunity for someone to have a job there when I leave that's actually gonna love it.
Why would you leave a six-figure tech job, Amber? Why would you do that?
Exhausting and overwhelming and stressful and chaotic it can be.
I don't work in tech anymore. I will probably never again work in tech. I'll definitely never work for that company again. I'll sure as shit never recommend anyone go work for that company.
I want to spend my time with family whenever I want to without asking anyone for permission. I want to travel and explore the world and experience life as it is.
I just started this job 6 weeks ago, so how did we get here?
I moved to Meta and I hated it.
I was no longer growing at the company.
So I just quit my job.
I was a little bit burnt out.
Quite stressful and quite terrible job.
I had all the money in the world. $300,000 in your bank account when you just graduate college literally feels like all the money in the world, and it bought me nothing that I wanted. It bought me no impact, no leeway.
Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. I'm Antabi Singh, and in this video, I'll be sharing with you interesting TikTok videos that I am scavenging throughout the day and finding on various topics that you will enjoy with me, and I will give you my little hot take either throughout the video or towards the end. So sit back and enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, I just quit my tech job. And let me tell you why. Basically, I was not getting paid enough. And you might be thinking like, you know what I mean? You doing good. Yeah, doing good and getting paid fairly is like two very different things. I had to turn the AC on, it's hot. But yeah, I'm literally dropping my computers off now. Like I'm done. And no tea, no shade. Like, I love my managers, I love my team, my director. How I might even come back to the company when I'm done. And you know, our generation not squeamish about like salary. So if somebody asks me how much I'm making, I'ma tell. So I asked somebody who was just coming in how much he make. I said, huh? You said what? How many zeros? Yeah. This person had virtually zero experience. Who was making tens of thousands of dollars more than me, and I have 5 years experience. All right, hold on. I for real gotta drop these computers off, then I'm gonna come back. Y'all, my badge don't work no more, and I can't get into the building to return these laptops. In addition to the salary discrepancy, they also stopped taking my insurance. So, and y'all know I'm a medically expensive person. So yeah, I had to move on. And like 2021 was just a horrific year. So I felt like for my true like revival, renaissance, whatever you want to call it, I had to get a new job. Okay, so now my new job. So my new job also has the same family vibes as my old job, but they paying the kid like they got some sense. And it's not a giant, huge corporation like this one. So I'm super excited. Like when I tell you I'm hype. And this is like customer facing, so I can send my grandmother a link and be like, look, this is what I did at work today, versus like my old job, everything was internal, so couldn't nobody know what I was doing. So yeah, I'm be unemployed for a month. That's bad for insurance purposes, but I'm excited to chill and do nothing and travel. And yeah, I'm living my best life.
Get ready with me for my last day at YouTube. I was the global shorts content strategist at YouTube, which means I worked with a lot of YouTube creators to help them build their YouTube shorts strategy. And I also helped build the strategy for YouTube shorts within YouTube. And I absolutely loved my job. I got to go to Coachella, I got to go to VidCon, I got to work with some of the biggest creators in the world. I loved my manager. Working at Google is literally such a dream. Plus, I had always said I would never quit my job to do content full time, simply because I've seen the biggest creators and how crazy they get. Like when it is their full-time job, you sort of lose that creativity and the freedom. But then again, I'm like, what could I do with content if I actually gave it my all for a little bit? But of course, you know me, I have to have a backup plan. So, and I've had this backup plan for a long time. I'm going to business school. I'm going to Wharton at the University of Pennsylvania for my MBA starting this fall. I am so excited to have this new opportunity and I can't wait. So for the next 6 months, I'll be focusing on the robes, my business, as well as on content creation full time before I head to business school. Over the summer, my boyfriend and I are gonna go to Europe, maybe South America, just like travel a bunch. I'm going to see Beyonce in London. I know people are gonna ask like, did you like wish you just got laid off with everybody else in January? And I don't, simply because I'm glad that I had agency over my decision and I could leave on like a high note with my team. I also knew I wouldn't get laid off because I work on a high priority team at YouTube. But I did feel guilty that there are people who want to work there and don't have a job anymore and I'm like leaving. But I had to recognize that like I'm now opening up an opportunity for someone to have a job there when I leave that's actually gonna love it and be fulfilled by it because it's such an incredible role. And I don't have to be burnt out and overwhelmed anymore. I just feel really lucky that this was such a hard decision to make, that leaving my team is so bittersweet, and that I just feel so I'm just so lucky, honestly. I can't even explain it. So bye YouTube, and let me know what content you want to see from me.
You guys, I quit my job. I quit my job. I did it. Why would you leave a six-figure tech job, Amber? Why would you do that? The answer is I wasn't happy, okay? I was not happy. There was absolutely nothing wrong with my job, okay? I could do it. I had great colleagues. I had an amazing boss. I worked for an amazing company. And something just deep inside my soul was like, this is not for you. And so I left. I was like, honestly, I can't do this. I woke up one Monday and I was so angry. So I went outside and I took a walk. I took a breather, a breath of fresh air, and I'm a spiritual person. You know, I'm listening to the signs that God sends me, the universe, everything. And I turned on a podcast, and I've been wanting to start my own business for a long time. I have a very entrepreneurial spirit. And I turned on this podcast, and the first words that were said is like, why do you think that God is not going to be with you in this next chapter? Like, why do you think he's going to make you walk this path alone? And in that moment, I knew I need to follow my gut. I need to follow my intuition, and I need to step out on faith. So I did it. I said, F it, and I quit, and I'm happier and more peaceful than ever. And it's scary and it's hard and all of those things, but it's also just wonderful to just be in control and know that you're walking the path that you're supposed to walk. And I've made videos before of how I've been in these moments in my life where I made a decision and people were like, huh? And they didn't understand it. And I was like, but I know this is right for me. And I think this is one of those times where I am doing something that is so core to who I am and I'm believing in myself. And so I'm going to take you guys along for the journey. Because being self-employed is no joke, okay? Like, having the financial pressure of, like, every dollar that you're bringing in is on, like, you have to hunt and find that is, like, a lot. And in 4 weeks, I've already doubled what I would have made at my job. And I'm not saying that's going to be consistent in the beginning. Like, I'm sure there's going to be ebbs and flows. But a lot that I like to talk about on here is stuff that I've been through in the past. And you guys really haven't seen me, like, walk through something in real time. And so I'm going to bring you along in this journey and we can see where it ends up. And I hope that by sharing this journey, it inspires people not to live for money, but to live for what makes them happy. Like, I wanted to wake up and love what I'm doing every day, and I have that now. And I am so grateful for that. I didn't want to spend my life sitting at a job that was eating at my soul. Life's too short and you need to enjoy the process and enjoy the ride. And money wasn't going to make me stay in a job that made me hate my days. I'm excited to document this journey, so let's go.
I just quit my job last week, so if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and watch it on my profile. But my biggest reason for quitting was because I was burnt out. I am in tech, I'm a user experience designer, and if any of you are in the tech field, you know how exhausting and overwhelming and stressful and chaotic it can be. So I have been doing like the hamster wheel for the past like 5 or 6 years back to back in startups and also ginormous corporations, and I've just like reached my limit in capacity where I have hated waking up every single day. My mental health was suffering. I was miserable and like not exercising or taking care of myself, and it wasn't a matter of something that could be solved with like a short vacation or a weekend getaway. Like, those were all just band-aids, and I'm still figuring out what I'm doing next, but I just knew that I had to get out of there because my mental health was declining. So that's my main reason.
You want to know what it's like to work for a big tech company 5 months after all their layoffs?
I don't work in tech anymore. I will probably never again work in tech. I'll definitely never work for that company again. I'll sure shit never recommend anyone go work for that company. The last 6 months have taught me 3 major things. 1, as long as I'm still in the United States of America, I'll only work a fucking union job. 2, the vast majority of people in corporate America only have a job because of administrative bloat. And 3, CEOs don't care about worker productivity, because if they cared about worker productivity, they would look at the processes that their employees have to go through to accomplish a task. I was in a conversation with a VP at my company, and when he told me how this process was done, I wrote, "I'm autistic, I can't tell if you're joking." That's how fucking asinine it was, considering the company we are and all the products we own. And that man was like, "I'm not joking, that is how it's done here." I was fucking speechless. Never again.
Good morning. Listen to me yap while I talk about why I quit my full-time job to pursue UGC full-time. Is it hard to just have a full-time job with UGC? No, that is my own answer. Like, my job at the time was not mentally taxing, was not physically tiring. Like, it was not laborious at all. Like, that's why I was able to explore my own interests and be able to do UGC on the side. It provided great income stability, and UGC was a great supplement with that. It was more than what I needed, and that's why I was able to be generous with a lot of my family and friends. But the reason why I quit my full-time job is not because, so if it provided that many great benefits, why did I quit? Now, this is the main question I always get asked from my mom and other older relatives. But you know what? Let me just answer that my time is a lot more valuable, and how I want to spend it is a great investment in myself in the long term. And with that investment also comes through monetary gains. And I think that monetary gains will just follow through when I want to live my life with purpose. Like, I feel like my time way more than income stability. And yeah. But you know what? UGC will provide me income stability once I have my foundations all set up. So yeah, I want to spend my time with family whenever I want to without asking anyone for permission. I want to travel and explore the world and experience life as it is without asking for permission. And I just want to live my life however I want to. Live, love, laugh. And if you want to learn more, definitely email me. Yeah. Bye.
So I'm quitting my job after 6 weeks. I am getting the fuck out of Texas and I am running back to LA. I just started this job 6 weeks ago. So how did we get here? Well, that is a fantastic story. Honestly, I just think that there were a lot of things that just weren't working out for me with this job. For starters, me being the only female engineer amongst 200 and something engineers. It is so isolating, so uncomfortable. I have heard the men there say the most heinous things about women, about everything, literally about everything. And it's just not a place that I want to be at. I can deal with being the only girl in the room. I've done it before. I can do it again. I know how to handle a man. That is not my issue. When you take that one step further, they all worship Donald Trump and all they do is talk about how much they love him on top of the obscene things they're already saying. It's just a lot as a female Latina immigrant in this fucking country. It is just a little too much for me. So I got another job and I'm going back to LA.
I was a recruiter for about a decade. I worked at Microsoft for a while and then I moved to Meta and I hated it. And then from Meta to LinkedIn, it started because I posted one video of my benefits at Meta and it went viral. I think I had posted like 2 TikToks before that and people were like, oh my God, how'd you get that job? What do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a recruiter. And people were just asking a bunch of questions. Meta did not fuck with that at all. They're just like waiting for the reason to fire me. And so they did. They did fire me. But honestly, it was a good thing because I actually got a sign-on bonus and because they fired me, I didn't have to pay back.
I will say, technically, she quit.
I did quit, yeah. So I quit on like Tuesday and then my boss calls me back on Thursday and is like,
Actually you're fired.
I was like, ooh, good one. Y'all really showed me.
Get ready with me while I talk about how I got 3 months of paid leave before I quit my corporate job in tech. For those of you new here, I worked 3 years as a product manager in big tech before I quit my job to start my own company. I truly loved my job, but I was no longer growing at the company and really wanted to manifest my dreams of being an entrepreneur. I was getting so emotionally burnt out from thinking about this all day. I literally could not work another day, but I didn't really know what my next moves were or what kind of company I wanted to build, so I needed some buffer time. I told my manager how burnt out I was feeling and that I was high-key considering quitting so I'd get the space and time I needed from work to figure out what I truly wanted out of my career. Quitting is a trigger word in big tech. They spend so much money trying to hire that this idea of losing you sounds way more expensive than them just paying for your time off. 24 hours later, my manager came back to me and asked me how much time I need to figure this out. I told her I needed at least 2 months. She said, why don't you take 3 and we're gonna cover the cost for it. We're gonna pay you for your time off. She said, I really hope you'll take this time to consider coming back to the company and bring that energy you used to have back to your team. The reality is that time was so freeing and it was such a great opportunity for me to be creative and really figure out what I wanted to do with my life. There was truly no way I was going to go back to corporate tech after getting a feel of what it was like to be free from the 9 to 5 and do what I was most passionate about. After my 3 months, I had a lot more clarity on what I wanted to do, and I gave my 2 weeks notice that I was quitting. The thing is that my manager is not the founder of this company, so she didn't take it personally. I told her that I was so grateful for the way that she supported me during this time as I navigated the next stage of my career, and we're still great friends today. The reality is those 3 months of pay actually gave me financial freedom for the next 6 months as I navigated the financial stress of starting a company. Never hesitate to ask what you need and you'll be surprised who's going to support you through that journey.
So I just quit my job. I just quit my corporate 9 to 5 job that I've had for almost 6 years. I was burnt out and I knew it wasn't my passion, but it paid really well and the benefits were great and I worked remote and there's all of these really amazing pros to the job, but there was also just as long of a list of cons. And I was really struggling with that, and the kind of whole point of this video is just to document my journey, because I think I'm going backwards, not in terms of my professional career, but in what a lot of people are wanting in the workplace right now. They want a lot of freedom, they want to work remotely, they just want the benefits, the salary, all these things. And I quit my job to go to a new job that is sort of the opposite. But I'm really excited about it, and I'm excited to bring y'all on the journey, because I'm going to the office every day. On everything that comes with that. And I'm not getting paid as well, but the benefits are still great. But it's a company I really believe in, an organization that I'm super passionate about. And so, yeah, we're going to go on a journey together about how I transition into an office girl again, and hopefully bring y'all on the journey. We're going to have work OOTDs. We're going to have making lunches. It's going to be a whole new world. So, yeah. I'm excited. I'm excited to show y'all what my new job is too. Because I think a lot of my content has revolved around working remotely, working in corporate tech, and all of that. And this will be a totally 180. So yeah, I hope you stick around. I'm super curious what y'all's questions are, and I can't wait to share exactly what I'll be doing. And yeah, so hope you're along for the ride.
4 months ago, I left my tech leadership job to start my own AI company. Here's how it's going. Yes, you heard right. I quit my job 4 months ago to co-found a company called CloudFO, and CloudFO stands for Cloud Financial Officer. And basically, we're building an AI finance colleague. We're trying to solve the ultimate business pain, stopping businesses from running out of cash and helping them understand and manage their numbers and their finances. So imagine having an expert in your team, a colleague that can help you with planning, reporting, analysis, budgeting in seconds. But imagine if that colleague wasn't human. Imagine if it was AI. So basically, that's what we're building. And yeah, I was supposed to take a bit of a break between my last gig and this. I was a little bit burnt out, but we just kind of got on with things. It was really exciting. Both of us as co-founders, we come from engineering backgrounds, 2 engineers who ended up working in fintech, finance and banking. So really just be sharing what it's like from a founder's perspective, from building out a new product to finding your first 100 customers to fundraising and raising money from VCs. So yeah, stick with me. Any questions you have, or if you want to find out more about CloudFO, hit me up.
Why did I leave my 6-figure job in tech? Let's talk about it. I used to work as a software engineer at AWS, Amazon Web Services. I was on their Direct Connect team, which is their networking, and I would say that was quite stressful and quite terrible job. I enjoyed the function itself. As a software engineer, I really enjoy doing that. But yeah, Amazon has a certain culture, so not my favorite. However, even though I didn't love this job, it wasn't 100% voluntary, me leaving this job. I was hired fully remotely, so my contract said virtual Florida. However, about a year ago, they told me that you either need to relocate to either Seattle or Minneapolis, or you need to quit. And these people think that I'm so insane that I would move from Tampa to Minneapolis? Please. No shade to young Northerners, but I'm not interested in that weather whatsoever. Not to forget that I'm not going to uproot my whole freaking life for a job that may or may not lay me off 3 months later. So last year they told me either relocate or quit, and I said bye-bye because I value sunshine more than I valued my job.
I don't think this video should be as controversial as it probably will be, but there's a pretty important reason I left my $300,000 job in tech to go be an influencer. I had all the money in the world. $300,000 in your bank account when you just graduate college literally feels like all the money in the world, and it bought me nothing that I wanted. It bought me no impact, no leeway. If I had gotten laid off like tomorrow, like I would basically have zero leverage to get a new job. The way the world is moving, tech is no longer the leverage. Unless you're building really deep tech, there's basically no advantage you have building software anymore. Where GPT is moving, it can literally build any app overnight. The only way your company is going to win is if you actually have an audience, if you actually have distribution to share your product with. That is your only competitive advantage in the new world. We can both ask GPT to build the same app for us, but if I have hundreds of thousands of people who follow me and I go tell them to go download that app, I'm gonna get more downloads and I'm gonna win. If the next Google is raising money, the difference between taking a check from me versus taking a check from someone else who doesn't have an audience, they're gonna take my money because I can just make a few posts about the company, immediately boost that product, and have much more leverage than the other investor trying to also get on that founder's cap table. But most importantly, building this audience is gonna give me infinite leverage for any company that I start in the future. I will have hundreds of thousands of people who follow me that I can drop the new product that I'm launching, announce the new company that I'm launching, and immediately get a head start in the market overnight. But if that doesn't convince you to drop everything you're doing and prioritize building an audience, maybe this will. If you care about seeing a change in the world, you can use your voice, you can use your influence to change the way people think. No amount of money that you have can possibly give you the power of influence to actually chase and run after the things that you want to see happen in the world. And that's the biggest reason why I'm doing what I'm doing today, and I'm sitting in front of the camera and I'm doing Get Ready with Me, and being vulnerable and putting myself out there with you. Instead of chasing that brand name company on my resume or chasing that brand name investor, I'm building my own leverage that I can lean on for the rest of my life, whether I'm looking for a job, starting a company, or simply trying to exert my voice and have influence on something that I'm passionate about.
Hang out with me for a day while I share why after nearly 5 years in my role, I quit my job without having another job lined up. So I joined this company during COVID in July of 2020, where everyone was virtual. I was extremely excited about accepting this recruiting coordinator position because I had always wanted to be in talent acquisition, and this was a great opportunity to get my foot in the door and learn about this industry. And I did this job for about a year and some change and absolutely loved it. I had great mentors, great coworkers, great managers. I was able to work on a lot of fun projects and was just really loving my time so far at the company. About 9 months into being at the company, so still doing this recruiting coordinator role, my husband had the opportunity to accept a higher position at his company, but it would require that he move to Raleigh, North Carolina. So since I had already been virtual my entire time, I applied to be a permanent virtual employee, and it was approved all the way up to the VP of talent acquisition. So once that got approved, my husband accepted his new job and we relocated to Raleigh, ultimately buying a home here and really putting down roots in the Raleigh area. So right after this move, after about a year and some change at the company, I was promoted to a recruiting coordinator lead, where I was managing 7 recruiting coordinators. And so it was a great opportunity for me to move into this, junior manager position. I was able to lead and mentor people in the role that I was just in, and was able to work on, again, a lot of projects and working with recruiting managers. So it was a great year. And then I was promoted again to a recruiting coordinator manager, essentially the same role I had just been doing, but a larger scope. So I was managing anywhere from about 15 to 22 recruiting coordinators and supporting a much larger recruiting organization. So they were recruiting for tech roles, non-tech roles, and robotics positions, and supporting about 200 recruiters. So a great opportunity to really grow as a manager and a leader and learn a lot about the industry. Then, like a lot of large tech companies in 2023, the company downsized significantly, about 20%, and talent acquisition took a huge hit because we weren't recruiting. We were laying people off. We weren't hiring people. And so we lost about 50% of our recruiting coordinators. During this time, I was very anxious. I was having trouble sleeping. I was having trouble eating. I had gained a lot of weight, was feeling super unhealthy. And partially because I felt like I was going to be eliminated at any time. I thought that, I was just a number, but really more so the people and the team that I was managing, they were extremely anxious and feeling very insignificant and feeling like they were not relevant. And I took on a lot of that stress and a lot of that pressure, and there really was nothing I could do to help them. It was so much out of my control, and I felt very helpless. And thankfully, I was not one of the employees that was laid off, but a lot of my colleagues and a lot of my direct reports were. And so there was a little bit of that guilt and anxiety that followed all of those layoffs and not being impacted. And so this was a really hard 6 months. Then in early 2024, thankfully, recruiting had picked back up, but we had half of the workforce. And so now myself included and all of my direct reports are doing the job of 2-3 people. And so now we're all experiencing burnout. We just had a super emotional 6 months of feeling like we weren't going to have a job to now I'm doing the job of 2 to 3 people. And this created a lot of resentment, a lot of frustrated employees. And then to really put a cherry on top of the sundae, I was told that although I had been approved to be a virtual employee and had been doing this job for nearly 4 years at this point and doing it successfully, I was required to either move back to Nashville or move across the country to Seattle in order to keep my job. And I had to relocate within the next 90 days. And if I didn't, I would have to quit. So, I just survived the layoffs, and now I'm being told I have to uproot my entire life. And after a lot of consideration, my husband and I were not willing to move across the country. He would have to find a new job. We would have to sell our home. We had formed, so many friendships, and we had a life here, and we weren't willing to change all of that for a company that could just lay me off the following month. So I extended my virtual status as much as I could and really wanted to stay with this company. And so I ended up accepting an on-site HR role in Raleigh. And this is where it really was just the nail in the coffin. This position was extremely stressful. I was working at least 10 to 12 hours a day. I was working weekends. The employees were extremely hostile and challenging to work with. I had a guy actually threaten to stab me and had to be escorted off the premises. I had employees yelling in my face. And it was, again, creating so much stress and anxiety. I wasn't sleeping. I was eating, but eating really poorly, and crying a lot, feeling like I was exhausted 24/7. I would come home from work, fall asleep on the couch, wake up, eat dinner, go to bed, and do it all over again. And I realized that this was unsustainable, and was questioning why I was, quite frankly, running myself into the ground for a company that could lay me off tomorrow, or really didn't care about my well-being, given that they wanted me to uproot my life, even though I had been doing my job successfully for, at this point, over 4.5 years. And so I spoke with my husband in great detail and length, and he really encouraged me to do what was best for myself and our marriage and my relationships. And so he fully supported me taking this step back. And I will say that if you told me a year ago that I would be quitting my job without having anything lined up, I would have told you were crazy. I am extremely type A. I'm an overachiever. I'm an extremely hard worker. But the last year just really put me down emotionally and physically. And I had to do what was best for me. I also know that this is a really great privilege, that I was able to do this and going to a single income household until I find a new job. And that's not something I take for granted and take lightly. I know that not everyone has the luxury of being able to do this. But if you resonate with this in any way, and if you resonate with my story, I encourage you to take a hard look at what you're doing for a company that likely would replace you in 2 days, which they did replace me quite quickly, actually. And consider, is it worth your mental and your physical health to do a job that really doesn't care about you as an individual? And so I don't know what's next for me, but in the meantime, I will be creating content here on TikTok. You can follow along and see what jobs I'm applying to. I might even consider opening a business. That's something I've always wanted to do, and now's the best time to do it. So I look forward to having you follow along. Leave a comment if this resonates with you and if you have a similar story, and I would love to engage. Okay, bye.
A lot of these companies are very quick to lay you off. So I would absolutely leave as well, because especially if you want to start a family, if you want to settle down, if you want to buy a house, unless if you want to do it cash, and technically allows you to do that if you're smart enough, and if you work your way up, you might actually be able to buy a lot of things cash, right? But not a lot of people are going to go through that. A lot of people who are in tech don't actually earn that much. Like, they earn a lot, better than a lot of people, but it's not always like the figures we're seeing online. And that's the weirdest thing about the industry for me. It's like there's this idea, it's like nursing. A lot of us think you earn a lot of money, and sure they do, but not all of them actually earn that much money. So I guess you really need to know what you're getting yourself into. Don't lie to yourself. Don't gaslight yourself. Don't future fake. Literally be completely honest. Can you actually do this? Are you okay not knowing if you're going to be laid off or not? Are you okay being laid off at least once in your career? Because I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. Also, if there's one thing I completely hate about tech, which I don't know, maybe my mind will change someday, is the amount of meetings. It's like right now, currently, like today is a Friday, right? Today's a Friday, 31st of January, and on my calendar, I technically had 5 meetings. And thankfully, not all of them were 1 hour, like an hour long, but I was like, damn, like I'm pretty sure tech is far worse than this. And if that's the case, I just couldn't. Imagine that being a daily thing. You have like 4 or 5 meetings. Maybe they're at least 30 minutes to 40 minutes each. Worse, like it's even worse if it's an hour. Like that's insane. Like when do you actually get to work? Which naturally means you are almost always are going to have to work over hours to actually get your job done. Because your job cannot just be attending meetings. There's always you're running projects. You're trying to keep up with the next team. Hey, do you guys have this? You're always aligning with people. I feel like that's just, it's okay. And I know it's a part of the job. But if you're not the kind of person that can handle that, because it gets overwhelming. Can you imagine knowing that you're not like you can already tell it's 3 p.m. and you going into the next meeting means that you're going to have to work until 6, until 7. Like, that's just depressing. You probably also might need to work for a startup if you're getting into tech, especially if you're new. You need to gain experience, which means, unfortunately, you're going to have to deal with startup drama, startup pay, startup like disorganization, startup like toxicity. Like startup culture it's good, but it can be really bad for your mental health. So, but also I feel like if you're getting into it and you hate your job and you're in a startup, perhaps it's not, maybe it's not the job, but the company itself. So I would hold off of like leaving the industry altogether and like try and leave, like try out different organizations and see if the feeling still persists. If it does, then wow, okay. Yeah, maybe leaving and reverting back to what you did before is the best thing to do. Getting into a completely different field, maybe besides tech, or just pivoting a little bit. The conversation I had was with a guy who felt like they made a mistake by getting into tech because they realized they didn't really like it. It was just the hype for them that made them get into tech. And I find that a lot of people who get into nursing feel the same way. Like you get into it because of the money, the lifestyle, and then you regret it completely. And you almost lie to yourself and you think, oh, I can do it. Like everyone else is complaining about this specific thing. The working hours are too much. And perhaps you, like the job you have currently, maybe you're already complaining about the hours. Like it's probably going to be worse than that if you get into nursing. You know what I mean? Like if you already hate working overtime, why do you think that nursing is going to be the best thing ever? So I think tech is the exact same thing. I know people who literally are working to get into tech, but they hate technical work. So I'm like, I'm a little confused. You realize that that's exactly what you will be doing, right? They're like, oh no, don't worry. You have to do what you don't like doing to make money. Sometimes I'm like, dude, like you're not gonna, I don't want to be negative, but I wonder how long you're gonna survive. And if you do survive, you'll be surviving being completely miserable. And that's scary.